Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. A huge talking point for Battlefield 6 so far has of course been how weapons perform and how weapons behave and feel, particularly when it comes to accuracy. The bloom in this game has been a very controversial subject so far. A lot of players saying it's too overkill. A lot of other players saying, no, it's, right in the sweet spot. It's going to enforce players to work a little bit harder to get those kills and make them feel more rewarding. Whatever side of the fence you're on, you probably want a more accurate gun at the end of the day regardless, right? And today I wanted to focus on a handful of tips you can utilize to really optimize your aim and instantly improve your aim in some cases here. So the first main thing I want to talk about is actually things you can do globally to all your builds to really focus in on them being more accurate here. And the two stats you want to focus on the most are going to be precision and control. Those are the two that have to do with how accurate your weapon's going to be. Now, precision is going to be how precise your spread is, your bloom is, if you will. So the higher you can get this number, the better. The less bloom you're probably going to feel, the less spread you're going to feel in that general recoil pattern, whereas control is all about the actual pattern itself. How much recoil is there? Is it a more tight pattern? Is it all over the place? So those are the two that you want to really focus on. And of course, there's a lot of different attachments that can really help those out, whether it's a converter helping out a little bit more with spread, but also hurting your control a little bit. You have things like the brakes that do a lot for the control as well. So you can optimize things focusing on those attachments to make life a little bit easier. Then obviously the biggest category for this is going to be your underbarrels. Some of them doing more than others, but also being pretty expensive, like the classic vertical doing a lot for control. They're just a basic 6H 6.4 doing a little bit less in some cases. There's things like the stubby and the alloy that are only going to do a little bit for recoil control but won't be as slow there. But you can really test around with a lot of these and see which ones work well. It's going to be a case-by-case scenario. Do you have a weapon that's already got really good control but not great precision? Okay, you'll focus on a converter there in that case. Or do you really just have to really go all in on that recoil pattern because it's a gun that is bouncing all over the place? Well, then you can stack a lot of control based attachments there. But that's the most straightforward thing that can help out literally every single gun that anyone can do. It's not going to take much skill outside of leveling your guns to get some of these things that'll make life a little bit easier there as far as the patterns and the spread goes. Another really efficient thing that you can do in game to help optimize your aim is mounting. I know a lot of people, I don't feel like are really utilizing this so much, but like on keys, when you ADS in and you press F, I'm now mounted up on this thing, and this is going to make my gun a little bit easier to use, of course. Now, keep in mind, as you're shooting normally, if you were just standing upright and you're in a fight and you're strafing a little bit, your accuracy is going to get worse as you're strafing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just straight up mounting is going to make that stationary gun obviously just be a thing outright. You're not going to have the fear of potentially accidentally strafing in a fight, trying to, move around and dodge some bullets, but it's also just going to make the gun a little bit more straightforward there. So mounting can really help out in general quite a bit. And as I just alluded to, another huge mistake that a lot of players are already making is going through and strafing in gunfights and moving in gunfights using jump shots. Like you can see, as I'm jumping here with my M4, my reticle is all over the place and my aim would be too. So if you're jumping in a fight, you're basically accepting that you're not going to hit shots. If you're strafing in a fight, even obviously on the closer range targets, it's less noticeable. But if you fight players at a range and you're moving left to right, forwards, backwards, even, your aim is going to be all over the place, as opposed to if you were just simply stationary or crouched or even proned on there as well. So moving in gunfights and then mounting in gunfights, night and day difference in how accurate your guns are going to be. Ultimately, it comes down to a muscle memory thing. I mean, even me coming over from COD and playing that so much, I'm so used to having massive strafe benefits on a lot of my guns. So I got to really force myself to remember, okay, I'm in a fight, I'm stopping to move, and then I'm going back into my actions there, sliding, jumping around, whatever the case is there, right? So those you can absolutely integrate into your gameplay over time, and it's going to make a major improvement, and you'll notice it pretty early on. We've also got to talk some settings here, because there are quite a few settings that you can tweak that'll really optimize your aim as well. And there's a lot that we've covered in my general settings video. If you haven't caught that yet, we literally went through every single setting in the game and broke down what was optimized to be using in game. But for your aiming settings here, this applies to controller or keyboard and mouse and can help out a ton with really fine tuning. So first up, your general aiming sensitivity, your infantry aim sensitivity, that's going to be just your general overall sense, right? So I have mine about 38 on controller. I think I play on about 16 or 17 on keyboard and mouse, and I've got that set up, but that's going to be preference to you. Find the sensitivity that works well for you. This is very important because when we go down to our actual sensitivities here with zoom, this is your ADS sensitivity, and this is what's super important here. So when you have your ADS sensitivity, this will be different from when you're just generally looking around and running around on a map. When you aim down your sights, these all kick into action here. So I do drop my infantry zoom aim sensitivity down a little bit. On keys, I have it a little bit lower than on controller. I'd have it about 90 on controller, so I've got it 79 with my DPM on keys right now. And then after you change that, you can go through zoom by zoom and actually adjust these, which is huge. So as you'll see here, what I do here is actually go through and I just basically increase these ever so slightly as we get to the different zoom levels. So when you have a low zoom optic, like a 1x, a 2x, so on and so forth, I like to have a slightly lower zoom sensitivity so that my screen will not move around as fast when I'm aiming down sights. That means I can be more pinpoint accurate in situations. But of course, as you get further and further zooms and you get enhanced 3x, 4x, all the way up to 10x, the more you're zooming in, the longer it's going to take to turn from point A to point B and potentially follow a player or to look at a new spot. So I gradually increase the aim there so that by the time I'm using some of the sniper scopes and whatnot, I'm just at 100 and it'll be a little bit easier to quickly move as I need there. But this is something that this isn't universal. I wouldn't say necessarily copy my settings one to one, but go along the same sort of idea, tune it to what's going to work well for you, whether it needs to be at 90, maybe it needs to be at 60 or something, and adjust that as needed. It's not something that you're going to instantly notice. It's a muscle memory sort of thing where it's like, okay, this still feels a little bit too fast. I'll tone it down and see it for the next game if my aim feels any better. Okay, that felt good. Now I can go to the next zoom and so on and so forth. But yeah, doing that I think is really useful. And for what it's worth, also looking at some of the things like left and right acceleration, especially on controller. With this, the lower the number is, the more snappy things are going to feel. The higher the number, the more floaty things are going to feel. It might be less responsive there, but also not as twitchy. So that's something you can adjust as well, specifically on controller, but with a lot of the custom zooms that applies to either input. And by the way, as we are going through the various tips here, if you guys enjoy the video, you find it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. It's a great way to help share it around to new viewers and help grow the channel. And if you're new to the channel, you want to ensure you're up to date with everything going on in Battlefield, this is the place to be. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and help us climb one step closer to reaching 1 million subs. Next up here, another thing you absolutely want to integrate into your gameplay, and especially if you're coming into Battlefield for the first time, maybe you're coming over from other games, is tap firing versus full auto. The devs have really made a point in this game that they want to emphasize rewarding tap firing, where you can clearly see it's much easier to stay on target as I'm shooting 5, 6, 7 bullets at a time there, as opposed to going full auto, where you're going to start to notice more bloom and shake and spread as the pattern goes on there. You're going to have to work a lot more to hold down the weapon and control it and keep it on target, and that spread becomes a whole lot more noticeable. So when you go through and you do start to tap fire, it'll be much easier to stay on target over time. Again, just something that's going to be muscle memory at the end of the day. Some situations may call for it. Some close range, you can just spray and you'll be center mass the entire time, even potentially with some of that spread kicking in. But tap firing, burst firing here versus full auto can be so beneficial, especially in some of those mid-range and those long-range gunfights, just to maintain accuracy consistently as you're resetting that pattern, basically. Now, obviously, you've seen me doing it throughout this video just as an example here, but this firing range is incredibly useful, using these dummies to practice some aim here, try and get your sensitivity down when you're flicking to various targets and whatnot. That's a fantastic way just to warm up, see if a sense works well for you. But what's also fantastic is you could easily go into portal matches and load up against bots there and just play against a bunch of bots and use that to warm up. Shooting players that actually move at varying distances might be a little bit more effective for some players than the firing range. For some players, maybe the firing range is all they need, and that's fine too. But warming up your aim and just getting used to new sensitivities, especially if you're going through and adjusting some of those settings we talked about, this can be a super helpful place and a less stressful place, basically a stress-free place with this, to warm up and easily get your aim down before you jump into a match. You don't want to be mid-match trying to help your team win and you're in there adjusting your settings and not playing for a few minutes, right? And then the last thing I want to focus on here that is largely going to be a preference thing, but I know for a lot of players, myself included, this is something that I find really important, is in your setups. We obviously talked about the importance of control-based attachments and precision-based attachments, but the optics here is huge as well. And really what you want to look for here, or just have the awareness of here, is that low visual scopes, typically some of the lower zoom scopes can help out a lot, especially if you're using full auto guns and trying to play a little bit more aggressive. Like if you know you're playing a lot in the mid range, you don't necessarily want to be using a scope that has a crazy zoom like a 4 times or a 5 times, because typically when the scope is more zoomed in, the recoil visually is going to be a lot more noticeable here. It's going to bounce a lot more. Whereas when you have lower zoom scopes like a 1.75 times, a 2 times, somewhere around that mark, and especially things like the ROM, this is one of my favorite scopes in the game, low visual recoil. That reticle is not going to be bouncing a ton just based off of the visual recoil and the pattern there, which means you can ultimately be a lot more efficient and accurate there just simply off your choice of scope. Now, some players really like the reticle of a 2.5 times or a 3.5 times or whatever the example is, right? So like I said, this sort of is a preference-based thing, but also something that if you're not feeling, super accurate with a gun and it's like, man, this sight feels a little bit weird, try a different one that's maybe lower visual zoom or visual recoil there, and it could help out quite a bit at the end of the day. You really can stack all these tips together too, which is great. It's not like an individualized thing of, oh, this one thing will instantly improve your aim, but you really factor in all of these, and some of it will be very noticeable right away. Like when you do change your attachment setups, you'll see, okay, yeah, this gun doesn't kick like crazy anymore. Other things like adjusting your sensitivities, your zoom sensitivities there, that will integrate into muscle memory over time. Play for a few hours, get used to the sense, get used to your accuracy there, and then see if you need to tweak it over time there as well. But you factor in all of this and your aim will improve drastically. I promise you that. Even in just the couple of days that we've had access to Battlefield 6 already, I've seen my aim go from being a little bit shaky at times to me being a lot more confident as I start to force some of these things into my gameplay, and I'm very mindful of some of these things, every single gunfight essentially. It's gonna wrap things up though. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it. Seriously do appreciate all the support on the channel as of late. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button on your way out to guarantee you're always in the know for everything going on in Battlefield. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.